Hello everyone and welcome to a beginner's guide to making Balatro mods. My name is The Astra. I am a well-seasoned developer in the Balatro modding community. I have made multiple mods such as Maximus and have spearheaded the potato patch events such as Hot Potato and Stocking Stuffer. To start off this series, we are just going to teach you how to set up your project. First off, this does assume that you have Lovely and SteamModded installed. If you do not, I will link a guide to installing those in the description down below. Those are non-negotiable. You must have those installed to do modding. So the first thing you're going to want to do is install your IDE. That is the thing you will be using to write code in. I personally use this software here, VS Codium. You can find it at vscodium.com. I will also link that below. Visual Studio Code is also a respectable option. These are very standard IDEs used within the community on a daily basis. All right, once you have your IDE installed, you should install a couple extensions that will make your life a whole lot easier. I recommend a few of these here. The Lua extension by Sumneko, that one is almost a requirement. You don't necessarily need to get extensions, let me preface with that, but these will make it a whole lot easier to develop your mods. So again, the Lua extension by Sumneko, and Even Better Toml by Thomas, however that's pronounced. Those two are must-haves. And if you want to share your code, CodeSnap is also quite nice. And so now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to locate your Balatro mods folder. How you would do that is you go to your search bar here, %appdata %. And there should be a Balatro folder in your app data. Go in here. Assuming you've already run Balatro with SteamModded and Lovely installed, there will be a mods folder right here. Okay, so assuming you don't have any other mods installed, you should see a smods folder and a Lovely folder. You do not need to touch either of these. What you're going to want to do in your mods folder is you're going to want to create a folder. Call it whatever you want. I'm going to call it example mod. And then you're going to want to make a GitHub repo for this. So what I would recommend is using GitHub Desktop. Some people will flame me for recommending this. I have used it for years and find it very easy to approach and painless to use. So for a beginner developer such as yourself, probably, I believe this is a very good option to manage your project. So what you're going to want to do is file, new repository. I'm going to call this example mod. Hey, editor Asher here. One thing I forgot to mention is to set your local path to your mods folder. That way, if either you created your folder beforehand or you're going to use GitHub Desktop to create your folder, it'll automatically put your repo inside of the mods folder. That way you don't have to do any moving around or rebasing your repo within GitHub Desktop. Makes it so much easier. What you're going to want to do next is you're going to want to select a license. This is technically a requirement for SteamModded and also to post your mod in the modding category in the Balatro Discord server. So usually I will choose the MIT license. I know SteamModded is under GPL3. Both of those will work perfectly fine. So let's go with MIT, create repository, and there you go. That should have populated the folder you just made with a bunch of random files. Do not touch those. So once you have created your repository, you're going to want to make your first commit. A commit is essentially a snapshot of your code that will get sent to the repository for others to see. It's essentially a place you can return to if you figured out something's messed up or if you're having trouble and want to show people the code that might be an issue. So it automatically gave me an initial commit. So I'm going to publish this repository. I'm going to keep it as example mod and publish. And just like that, it is now on the internet. So the next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to open your mod folder in VS Code or whatever IDE you decided to choose. So show more options, open with VS Codium, and there you go. This is your workspace. Get familiar with it. You will be seeing this a lot. Okay, so the first file you're going to want to add to your workspace here is your metadata file. What this file does is it holds information about your mod, such as the name, what version it is, the authors, all that sort of stuff. And it also helps Steam Modded detect that this is a valid mod that it can load. So I'm just going to do this, call it metadata.json. You can call this file whatever you want, as long as it's a JSON in the root of your folder, it should get detected. All right, so now we're going to start filling up this file. So let's start with some brackets, and we're going to start with the ID of the mod. This is how Steam Modded identifies what mod is what and how it distinguishes between different mods. This ID must be unique to your mod and your mod only. It cannot be shared with another mod. This goes with it for a few other values we'll go over later. So for this one, I'm just going to call it Astra's example mod. You can have spaces in that, but it's usually recommended not to, just for simplicity's sake. So next we're going to go with name. This one you can do a bit more with the characters. Astra's example mod. After that, you want your authors, or in this case, just one singular author. And that would be me, the Astra. If you wanted to add multiple people, just add a comma here, and then add another string. Let's go, my good buddy Aramel. You can keep doing this on and on for as many authors as you need to, but for now, it's just going to be me. Next up, the description. This can be whatever you want, however long you want. This will show up on your mod page in-game. Next up is your prefix. This one is very important. Basically, anything you create for your mod will have this prefix attached to it, and it's key. This must be unique to your mod, and it must be fairly easily accessible. So I'm just going to call it XMPL, for example. So it's nice and short, and it's easily identifiable to my mod. Once again, this must be unique. This cannot be the same as any other mod that exists, or else you will run into issues. Next up, we're going to define our main file. And as you may have noticed, we do not have any other files that we can use currently. So I'm just going to create one and call it main.lua. And also put down main.lua as my main file. This will be the first file loaded whenever the mod gets loaded. So that's where all of our code will start in. And finally, we need the version of the mod, which will, let's just start with 0.0.1. In quotes, thank you. Basically, this is the standard versioning that we use. It goes as, the first one is your major update, this one is your minor update, and this one is a patch, or at least I believe that's how it goes. And we are going to Control S to save. Save as often as possible. That is super duper important. And now let's boot up the game and see if it gets detected. And would you look at that? My example mod is right there. Doesn't take too much to get it all set up and appear in game, but we're not done just yet. So I'm going to quit out of here, and I'm going to go create another file called .luarc.json. This file will essentially point towards the library, so you don't get any weird errors to show up. So I will set this as workspace.library. And in here, path to smods. And that is because in my mods root folder, we have smods as the folder name here. So name this to whatever your Steam modded folder might be named. And I'm going to do the same with my lovely folder, path to lovely. Beautiful. And I'm going to not have that there, and then save. And that will essentially point or include all of those folders in the automatic linting, which is basically just checking to see for errors. And it will save you a lot of headaches. Alrighty, and the second to last thing that we're going to do today is file loading, because at the start of mod loading, Steammodded will only load your main file. So let's say you want to have a folder for all of your jokers or all of your decks or whatever. I'm going to do that right now with src and then make another folder called jokers, just as an example here. We're not going to populate those just yet. That will be in the next episode. But let's say we have something in there and we want it to load. I'm going to pull this out from Vanilla Remade, which is a very valuable resource that we have. I wish it's something that we had when I first started modding. So I'm gonna copy paste this here. And essentially what this will do is it will pull from your Jokers folder as defined here, loop through it, and load every single file within it. Makes it way easier. You will have to do this for each folder that you make, so keep that in mind. But it is so much easier than manually loading every single file yourself. Hey guys, Editor Asher here once again. A few extra things I wanted to add on to this. First off is right here. I completely forgot to add src to the directory string. Adding src will make it so it looks for the correct folder as opposed to jokers in your root, which you do not have. Second thing is I wanted to explain a few of these functions that you see. First off, smods.nfs, that is your main method of being able to look up files within your directory. It is very much the preferred one, so that way you can use the brand new zip loading feature. And second off, I want to talk to you about what assert is. Assert is essentially an error handler. So if smods.loadFile returns a falsy value, assert will then see that and throw an error. All right, and the last thing we're going to do today is we're going to push all of this to our repo. So I actually don't want this luark.json file to be on my repo. So I'm going to add this to my git ignore. So that way people don't have to download that file because it serves no purpose when it's out of my hands. So I'm going to make the commit metadata and main file, commit that, and then I'm going to push it. And there we are. Just to show you, I'm going to view this on GitHub over here. Get to see my little secrets. And as you can see, my example mod is here. You can see the main file that we just made. There's the metadata that we made. And yeah, that is all for this episode. I hope you gained something of use out of this. And next episode, we will be going over your first Joker.